January 17th edition of the Crash the Pond podcast. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a week since we've talked to you. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We actually have an actual
real holiday.
A real holiday. I don't have to go reaching. I don't have to go fishing for one. Big holiday. So keep everything in mind about the message of this day. I think it's an important one to take note of. That being said, though, Jake, I do want to ask you this. This has been something that's kind of come to my mind. You know, players in the NHL have pregame rituals. You know, they like Sidney Crosby infamously has a very elaborate pregame ritual routine. Do you have any pre-podcast rituals? This is what the people want to know. The behind the curtain look.
Typically, this is most of the time what I do pre-podcast. Not what I did today because work's a little bit late. Typically, rush home, get home at 5:30, get a nice workout in, eat quick as quick as I can at 7, hop in the shower or bath for a little decompression after working out, and then throw some clothes on, set everything up, get everything going for you, and start the podcast. It's a pretty quick and efficient process.
You really laced in you really checked all the boxes.
Whereas today, instead of that, what I ended up doing was got home, ate, laid on my bed, and watched TikToks to decompress.
Yeah, that's not good.
Much different.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that because I took a cold shower before our pod today, and I'm all about the cold showers in the morning. It's part of my routine, but I may have to start making this a regular thing pre-pod as well. I'm feeling like $1 million. I feel like I'm ready to have a great show.
I don't know how you do it.
Isn't that what you want to hear?
I don't know how you do it.
Man, people just hate cold water. That is what I've learned.
It hurts.
I mean, it stings a bit for like a minute, and then you're fine. At most a minute. Like your body gets used to it very quickly.
Why would I choose to take a cold shower as compared to taking a hot shower?
I love it. There's a lot of science about the benefits of the cold shower. I'll let people Google them. But highly recommend if you're a podcaster out there listening to us to do one before recording or before you do anything, really. Jake's just shaking his head over there. Okay, well, we've got some fun stuff to talk about this week. So the Ducks GM search is heating on up. We talked about it last week as well, but now we have there's a little more color to it. There's a little more detail that we can kind of piece out, and then there's also some games to talk about, and just kind of like the state of the union for this team. And that is where I want to start, because the Ducks have lost 8 of their last 10 games. They've lost some ugly games. I mean, they got hosed by the Wild on Friday. They got blanked by the Blackhawks on Saturday. They lost to the Penguins on Tuesday. Like, this just has not been a good stretch for the Anaheim Ducks. Their playoff odds are dwindling. They're at 25% to make the playoffs per money puck, roughly 20% from the Athletics model, and up to 50% from Micah McCurdy's model. So is there even anything to worry about right now for this Ducks team? Or like, if you're a Ducks fan, are you even concerned at all in the grand scheme of things?
It's tough because honestly, I go back and forth at it all the time. Because you and I legitimately, when talking about the Blackhawks game on Saturday, there were certain things that were obviously very, very concerning with the way they played, with the way that they were set up, various different things like that. But when you also think about it, they're missing in that game. They were missing Cam Fowler, they were missing Troy Terry, they were missing Sonny Milano. Like, that is the Ducks' best defenseman this season.
John Gibson.
Well, yeah, John Gibson also. But their best defenseman this season. They were missing their 2 best wingers, 2 of their best forwards. I mean, you would probably say their 2 best forwards. I would say Trevor Zegras included in there, so 2 of their best 3 forwards this season. And that's going to cause a pretty big impact on your lineup. And then you add in the fact that Adam Henrique is out. It's just the types of players that are missing are huge in terms of the importance to their lineup. And so I think it's hard not to look at that. But I think at the end of the day, where I kind of fall on this is, I think global, big picture wise evaluation of the team, I'm not concerned because of the way that or not concerned based on the way these last couple of games have gone. I think there is concern with the way Dallas Eakins has handled it, though. And I think that that's kind of where you can transition to it, that the good coaches in this league are able to take their lineups that are depleted, that don't have all their guys, and are still able to have the team that can play solid hockey, that can push the pace towards other team, win the expected goal battles. You think about like the Pittsburgh Penguins, for instance, with Mike Sullivan. I mean, God, they've missed how many games from Crosby? How many games from Malkin? Like, these are top-end players, and he's been able to put together a system where Jeff Carter was the first-line center for significant portions of the season. Danton Heinen was a first-line winger for them, and was able to put in a system where they could end up becoming successful. And so part of that is identifying the proper players. Part of it's putting in the right system. And I think the concern that I have right now is that Dallas Eakins isn't necessarily doing that. And I think that that kind of falls in line with what you and I have thought, is that he's had a better season. I think he's been a better coach. He's made some better decisions overall this season from a lineup perspective, but there are still flaws and certain things in the way that he coaches the game, coaches the team, and sets up the lineup. And he's more so kind of a neutral coach than he is whether good or bad this year. And I think that's really kind of showing itself in this last little stretch, because he's not able to find ways to still have the team playing well when they don't have their best horses out there.
Yeah, because they're also getting outplayed in some of these games, right? I mean, the underlying numbers aren't quite as bad in some of these contests, but they've also been not where you would hope to see them against some lesser opponents. And so I don't love the Mike Sullivan example, because like Mike Sullivan is one of the three best coaches in the NHL at worst.
So my point in saying that is giving an example
like,
of
yes, Dallas Eakins is confirmed to not be as good of a coach.
No, but that's
Mike
kind of
Sullivan. I'm pretty sure we knew that already.
My point in saying that, though, is the fact of you can see the complete difference between what an elite level coach can do with a poor lineup versus what a guy like Dallas Eakins can do, who is more so kind of middle of the road.
Well, I think so. There's two parts to that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is that the absences in the Ducks lineup have kind of just brought to light what we had already been seeing even when the Ducks were fully healthy, which is that Dallas Eakins loves his depth guys and plays them probably more than he should. I mean, I'm thinking specifically of the Isaac Lundestrom line, even the fourth line at times. Like, he just loves his depth guys. And when some of his top guys are out, instead of stacking really the top six and just leaning into that, he almost leans more into like the Grant, Lundestrom, Silverberg line than he would a more offensive line. And it's just a misevaluation of the guys that I think he has at his disposal. So that's part one. And that part, I think you can't let Eakins fully off the hook there. But the other part of that is that this roster and its depth, specifically at forward, it's just suboptimal. They don't have good forward depth.
And I think even on defense also.
Yeah, and so when you lose a couple pieces, like a Terry, like a Zegras, a Milano, sure, like those are three of your very best forwards, and there's not a lot of teams who can survive that. But the Ducks supporting cast, if you can even call them that, aren't doing much supporting at all, except supporting the other team's shot metrics. Like, they're not players that are actually going to help you stay afloat during the storm. And that's the problem. And so this is even more to me a reflection of the warts of Bob Murray, who is now gone, and just how this roster, yes, there were a lot of people who were singing Bob Murray's praises as the Ducks were going on their streak, as Troy Terry was breaking out, and that we're kind of saying, hey, don't forget that this is Bob Murray's team that and he's the one who built this. But let's not forget, like, in these moments as well, I think that this is still a roster issue as much, if not more, than it is a coaching issue.
Look no further than the Athletic put out their player cards, and one of the interesting things with those player cards that I found was they assigned a value, right, based upon the production that the players have done, their on ice stats, along with that, both offensively and defensively, along with penalty, power play, and penalty kill, and everything like that, and assigned a market value to that, and compared that to what they were getting paid. And the Ducks really found a lot of value in guys like Troy Terry, who I believe that I'll double check it once I'm done talking, but I believe he was like at 11 mil is I think what they said his value should be based upon how he's producing and playing this year. But then you look at Derek Grant, who is actually worth negative money. Him and Nick Delorier are legitimately worth negative money, which goes to show that they're just not NHLers. Like, that is what that shows you, is that in an ideal world, they would not be getting paid anything in the NHL. Like,
Right.
like that is what that is showing right there.
But the problem is that, to me, this is not even really an analytics versus eye test thing. I think if you watch these guys play, they're not good.
Real quick,
NHL players.
Market value for Derek Grant would be negative 0.1 mil. Market value for Nick Delorier, negative 0.6 mil. So
yeah,
just soak that up. Troy Terry was at 7.9 mil is where he was at.
Dallas Eakins is the one that's playing these guys and elevating them, and that's a problem. But it's also a problem that these guys were brought in, were extended, right? Like there's issues there, and so everybody's kind of to blame. And so if you're gonna make a pie chart for the blame, I think it's, what would you call it, 60-40 Murray in terms of how this is going right now. It's funny, we're blaming someone who's no longer with the team, but
70-30?
Like 70-30 Murray?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say so. I mean, it's funny when you have a guy like Sam Carrick and Buddy Robinson get called up from the AHL and they're better than your already in place fourth liners.
Right. Who you're paying, non-trivial money to.
I mean, here's the overall concern. I'm just kind of looking at the numbers. The Ducks, since coming back from the break, where that first game back was against Vancouver, they've had one game where they were above 50% expected goals for percentage, and that was against the Colorado Avalanche. The rest of the games...
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The rest of the games, they've been under 50%. And the thing is, well, yes, some of them, those teams have been good. Vegas is a team that's really been climbing there. Pittsburgh, also great. Minnesota, also good. But in that same breath, they've also been playing some teams that aren't necessarily that great from an expected goals for percentage. They've been playing the Chicago Blackhawks. They've been playing the Detroit Red Wings, who are kind of middle of the road. They've been playing one of the worst teams in the league, the Philadelphia Flyers, and lost the expected goals battle to them. I believe the New York Rangers also kind of middle of the road. Vancouver Canucks, Vancouver caved them in at 31% expected goals for percentage for the Ducks in that game. And so it's just, I think the concern that I have is that even when they are missing players, they shouldn't be losing the on-ice battle at 5-on-5 this badly to some of these teams that they've played.
Yeah. And again, I'm willing to give Eakins a fair bit of slack because, again, this is just a situation that no one should really have to deal with. But you also have to evaluate what's happened, and I don't think he's necessarily done himself any favors either. So with all that being said, I think spinning this forward now, and just after you've divvied up the blame, I think that this kind of puts the Ducks right where we thought that they were going to be, even though the reasons for them being here are kind of outside of their control. If you look at the Pacific Division race right now, I mean, the Ducks are no longer, they're far from a sure thing now to make the playoffs. A couple of months ago, I always said on this podcast that they were making the playoffs, and that is in jeopardy. There's no question.
I mean, the issue there is the points accumulation that's gone. Winning 2 games of your last 10 does not do you any favors in that.
Well, exactly. That's all part of the analysis here. And so, but I don't, Ducks fans are hearing that. And I think understandably, everyone was very excited about, hey, the Ducks are 80% chance to make the playoffs. The Ducks are winning games. They're exciting. The power play looks good, and power play sucks now, by the way. But now I think it's like a bummer to hear that this has tailed off a bit. I don't think it's a bummer because at the end of the day, this is kind of who we thought they'd be this season, right? Just this kind of team that's ideally going to show you some flashes that's going to, and they've shown us a ton of flashes already, but not quite there yet either. And they may yet make the playoffs. It's not fully out of the picture.
Yeah, and there's been some conversation. It's kind of been in our Discord about what should the Ducks do this year? Should they really, is it bad if they make the playoffs? Should they miss the playoffs and get a better pick? And to me, at this point in time, with where they're at, they're not going to be low enough to get a decent enough pick this draft. No matter what, they're probably going to be in that teen range, the middle teens to high
14th.
teens, probably 14th best. So to me, it's I hope they make it because I just want a fun run. They shouldn't go all out to try to do it. And I think at the end of the day, what this run has shown, though, as you kind of talked about right there, is that what we kind of knew, which is that this team doesn't necessarily have the depth to be able to make a deep playoff run. This team, that's not where this team is at currently. And so to me, what this has done is expose, I mean, when you're a playoff team that is going for a cup, you have to be able to survive injuries. Like, that's just how it is. Like, guys are going to get hurt. And, I mean, look at Tampa last year with what they had to go through. Even throughout the season, they made the damn playoffs in a high position without having one of the best players in the world on their team. Like, people forget that part of the conversation with discussing Nikita Kucherov and the fact that he came back for the playoffs. Like, they were without Nikita Kucherov for all of that season and still got to where they were. Like, that is the insane part of it. But kind of getting back to my point that this Ducks team, when they do have a couple guys out, they don't have the depth or the coaching to be able to push them over the edge and still win rounds. And I think that that's the one thing for this Ducks team. And that's why hopefully this resets expectations for some people, maybe within the organization that maybe thought they should be going for it, if that was the case, and recenters them and refocuses them on kind of where this team is actually at.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, it sucks because a lot of the reasons why they've gotten to this point are, again, outside of their control with the COVID absences, but the results are what they are. And I do think that now it is a little ideal if you're someone who thought that the Ducks need to sell at the trade deadline, that it's not even a question of if they need to sell. I think you're probably slightly happy about this, right? Because now it's like you can't even make the case anymore that you can't make a case for them not selling the farm at the trailer, not the actual like farm system, but all of the UFAs. I just, what's the case now? I mean, you and I have talked about, well, maybe Lindholm is the one you bring back. This doesn't make sense. And
we're even now hearing
if he's not extended by now, if he's not extended, in the next few weeks here, like he's walking, right? So. Yeah. And do you really want him as your own quote unquote rental?
No.
So that you can scratch out the final wild card spot? That doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, and this was kind of even said by, it was what was it, Friedman on the Jeff Merrick show today had mentioned, or maybe it was Merrick that said this, that basically is like, yeah, if Lindholm's not extended, he's getting dealt, which is how it should be.
It was Friedman.
It was Friedman that said that. Yeah. Which is how it should be and how we've discussed it. So. Yeah, I mean, you want to just start kind of jumping into the speculation from today?
Yeah, well, so now that we've kind of covered the state of the team, I think that the logical next step is to discuss who's going to be at the driver's seat for the next, probably few years. So it turns out, according to Elliot Friedman, that the Ducks are now deeper into their process. They're still definitely behind the Montreals, the Vancouvers, but there's a list supposedly of 10 to 12 candidates and some names that maybe we didn't expect, both for good and for bad. That could be prominent on this list.
Yeah. So, it's a bit of an unknown as of right now. The information that we have kind of coming from a bunch of different, couple different sources. Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts mentioned that the Ducks are specifically looking at Chris McFarland, who's an assistant GM for the Avalanche, and they really like him. And so that's one name that was thrown out there. And then Merrick on the Jeff Merrick show today mentioned that someone had told him they would be very surprised if the next GM of the Ducks was not Jeff Solomon or Dave Nonis. And then a little bit after that, Pierre LeBrun tweeted out, and let me just read the tweet verbatim. Hearing that the Ducks began GM interviews last week with in-house candidates Jeff Solomon, Dave Nonis, and Martin Madden. External candidates to be interviewed soon. Also hearing that Anaheim has not reached out to at this point to Tampa AGM Matthew Darsh. Not yet anyways.
Yeah. So I think that the takeaway for right now, before we get into some of the specific guys, is that there's a lot of balls up in the air for the Ducks. I think that rightfully so, they're giving everyone a hard look, and it does seem like the in-house guys are going to have a legit shot. I mean, the Ducks declined the Canadiens' request to interview Martin Madden, which tells me that they are considering him, right? You don't decline if you're afraid of losing the guy because you potentially want him to be the next GM of your team. Yeah. So it doesn't seem like there's a front runner if you're just kind of really reading between the tea leaves.
The one thing that I found surprising with this is that, to me, I thought it was almost going to be even more drawn out than it has been. And so this seems a little bit more accelerated than I expected, because to me, this almost feels like they're trying to get a GM in place by the deadline. And
which is not a terrible
no,
idea,
no, no,
right?
it's not, but it's just funny because we kind of had thought that Solomon would get this deadline to be able to make it, but it's not a bad idea to try to get your GM in place. And so to me, that makes sense that they interviewed all three of the internal candidates because they're not going to necessarily get the runway of just having the deadline. And so to me, this feels like something they want to get done by mid-February because what is it? The trade deadline's end of March this year?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's later.
Yeah,
because the season ends later.
Season ends later. Season started later. I think it's like March 31st or something like that. So it really feels like the Ducks are trying to get their interviews in and make a decision on a candidate within the next month is kind of what it seems like, which is kind of crazy because I didn't expect a GM to be in place until maybe like, I don't know, June. That was kind of what I was expecting originally.
So here's my kind of 40,000 feet, 35,000, 30, I don't know what the proper altitude is, but I think that it makes sense, right? Like, I think it's a little weird to go into a pivotal trade deadline.
Definitely.
Like one of the most important in recent franchise memory with an interim GM who doesn't know if he's going to be the GM next year. Like, the incentives are just all over the place there, right? And so I think it makes sense to have an established leadership core and an established vision before you get to the altar, before you get to that moment of truth. But they're going to have to hurry because if that's what you want, you got to then give these guys some time to actually make the deals happen.
And I think that's why no matter what happens with the GM, Solomon and Madden and Nonis are going to still be AGMs. If not, they are not. None of them are picked to be the general managers, so that there is some sort of continuity for this season, and so that they can help assist because they know the best and give the new GM someone to help them. And so, I think from the internal candidates, it's not really a surprise. It was always said that those three were gonna get a look at this. Dave Nonis is, I think, the only candidate so far that I just don't want. Like, I took a look at his tenure in Toronto, for instance. The only major deals that he made were he acquired Jonathan Bernier from the Kings for Ben Scrivens, Matt Fradden, and something. I think it was a first. He also
haven't heard those names in a while.
I know. He also was the guy that signed David Clarkson to that massive deal that didn't work out well.
Worked out great.
Yeah, it didn't work out that well. And there was maybe one or two other deals that were significant in there, but they never were like deals that turned out that well. And so it's funny because he was the GM of the Maple Leafs when you think about it, that they started unintentionally tanking. And they were unintentionally bad, and then he started trading away guys and started kind of the tanking process. But his last draft was the one they drafted William Nylander for, so it's not like he was even there for the Mitch Marner draft or anything like that. So his track record doesn't necessarily instill confidence in me, and so he's the only one that I just is a hard no for me.
And I mean, I feel like it's well known that Nonis is kind of a Murray guy, right?
Well, I mean, him and Burke are both, or him and Murray are both Burke guys. They were both in Anaheim under Brian Burke. Then Nonis went with Burke to Toronto. Murray stayed as the general manager here.
Yeah, I just think it'd be a rough look to, have the whole scandal with Bob Murray and then to just basically go to a guy who's pretty closely tied to him. And look, it's nothing against Nonis. For all we know, he did nothing wrong, but it's just the optics of it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I don't know. Like, I mean, if you had to make a bold prediction right now.
Oh, that's right. Nonis did hire Carlisle in Toronto. So
yeah, he's got a great nose for coaches.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it makes sense that he got the interview. I hope that that's kind of how far it goes. I think that even if he's not necessarily being considered for the candidacy, I think that, or no, I don't think that he hired Carlisle. I think that was still Burke. But still, regardless, internal candidates, it makes sense.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of having to make this big, bold prediction, I'll go slightly less bold. If you had to bet on it right now, do you think it's going to be an internal candidate or the field that's going to get the job?
Ooh, I'm just, you know what? Even though there's been some reports that think it's going to be internal, I'm going to go with the field.
You're playing the field?
I'm playing the field.
I like it.
Because you're going to go internal.
I don't know. I guess I'm a betting man now, but I I get this feeling it's going to be the field as well. I get
Like
this weird gut feeling. Yeah.
the funny thing is the Friedman report on 32 Thoughts, right? The specifically bringing up
The McFarland name, right?
yeah. And so for those
I
that
mean
don't
that
know, because to be quite honest, I didn't know a whole lot about Chris McFarland. I think it was a couple weeks ago on 32 Thoughts. They had mentioned that some of the teams are sniffing around prominent AGMs, whether it be Matthew Darsh, Chris McFarland, Eric Tulsky. These are guys that you should keep an eye on. And so my ears perk up when I hear Tulsky. And so Chris McFarland's kind of in that same boat, not necessarily known as being as analytically savvy as an Eric Tulsky, but Chris McFarland was brought into Colorado and did some very brief research on him today. And back when Sakic came in and Patrick Waugh came in, the reason why Patrick Waugh ended up leaving was him and Chris McFarland didn't necessarily see eye to eye in the way they viewed the game, and Sakic sided with McFarland. And that's what led Patrick Waugh to leaving the Avalanche. And as it turns out, that vision seemed to be pretty well or pretty correct.
Working out all right.
Yeah,
Working out all right.
And so while yes, there were some critics of the way Sakic handled Duchesne at the beginning, that deal turned out amazing for them. And you look at every deal that the Avalanche have made, and it's been fantastic. And I mean, Joe Sakic is a first-time GM, hadn't necessarily been that involved. And so he's probably heavily leaning on his AGM that has been involved. I mean, he was with the Columbus Blue Jackets starting in 1999 to 2000. And it worked his way up through the Blue Jackets organization before eventually joining the Avalanche in 2015. And so he really is a guy that, I mean, maybe this is extrapolating a bit too much, but really feels like in some ways an architect of the Avalanche team and had probably a big say from the way that he's been profiled by a lot of people. And so to me, he's a very interesting name.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And so for his name to kind of come out of the blue, and then also for Pierre LeBrun saying not yet anyway on Matthew Darsh, I think that's interesting, right? Because these are two guys, a Darsh and a McFarland, who are from two very successful organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And McFarland, seemingly instrumental in where the Avalanche are today. And then with Darsh, maybe not quite to that degree, but has just kind of been under the tutelage of a Julien Brisebois. And I think that makes sense when you're trying to build a winning organization. You take pieces from the ones that are already there.
Yeah.
And you make it work. So,
well, and
I think that Solomon and like Madden, for example, are fine candidates. And if the Ducks hired either of them, I've come around a little bit on Madden. And I don't think that they would be bad hires, but it makes sense to really do as much digging as you can outside before you make that choice.
Yeah, and the one thing I also really like on McFarland is, and the fact that he's a guy that they're really interested in, he's not a hockey guy. Like, yes, he's been involved in an organization since 1999 to 2000 season.
90s.
Yeah, since the late 90s, but he's a lawyer by trade. Like, he went to law school. Like, it's not as if he was an old hockey man that got into the game because of guys that he played with. This is a guy that worked his way up, I think, kind of similar to Jeff Solomon, right? Who got involved as being an agent and eventually joined the Kings to get onto the other side of it. And so I think having these kind of different viewpoints on the game is really important. And I think that's right. What I find most fascinating. And I'm really curious to see the other names that are identified. I mean, if McFarland's in there, I would maybe Tulsky is also. Maybe that's a reach. Who knows? But I think that they're at least identifying good candidates, which is what we can assume based upon this.
Right. I mean, the Tulsky thing, it's a name everyone's throwing out there, but
yeah.
We have nothing.
We have no idea
that
well,
that's actually
and I mean, it very well could be one of the other candidates. Could be Mark Bergevin. One of the other candidates could be. Why am I spacing on his name so hard? The Oilers.
Jim Benning. Oh,
Oilers old GM. Who's now with St. Louis. Yeah, Pete Chiarelli. Yeah. And so, I mean, there could be other names there that are getting interviewed that we don't necessarily know, and it could tarnish the way we're feeling about the GM search. But I think as of right now, with the information in front of us, I feel good about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're looking at names that make sense. I don't know. I have a good feeling that whoever they end up hiring is going to be a solid choice.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I think that that's comforting if you're a Ducks fan. And I also think that I would imagine that the in-house guys are staying, right? if
I
if they don't get hired?
I would think that for sure Solomon would.
Well, because he's probably, I don't know how long his contract is, but he just got
He
here.
just got here,
So
and I don't think it almost feels like our thought that he was kind of going to take over the reins in summer. That doesn't necessarily feel like it would be the case, because if that was the plan and Murray was going to take a step back, they would have just named him the GM, right? At the once Murray resigned.
yeah.
And so that doesn't necessarily seem like it's the case. So I don't think he signed on in Anaheim to necessarily take an elevated role. So it's not as if his role in the organization is going to be any different than what he signed up for 6-7 months ago. Like, it's going to be exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you walk out of this with a tandem of, fill in the blank GM that's not an in-house guy, so a McFarland, a Darsh, whoever, and then they're still surrounded by Madden, Solomon, I think that's a good team. That's you're kind of checking all the boxes there of a competent management group.
Agreed.
Who's going to be a big departure from what we've seen in recent years.
Yep, definitely. And I think in some ways bringing someone from outside the organization is a good idea, and I think that might be playing a part somewhat. So
yeah, and especially because I think as much as the Ducks have viable in-house candidates, because they've only gone in-house for all these years, it makes sense to push on that outside candidate for as long as you can until you make that decision.
Yep. All right. So I think it's time for a word from our sponsor, Felix. So name a better duo than McDavid and Draisaitl this season. I've got one: Manscaped and grooming. That's right. Our sponsors at Manscaped, the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have all the best tools to clean up your hockey stick this year. Step aside, Gretzky. Manscaped's Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer may go down as the GOAT. Gift the GOAT to yourself or someone who needs it, and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code CTP for 20% off plus free shipping. It's time to skate on the first line with the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming, Felix. This season, take your package to the next level with their Performance Package 4.0 and brand new Ultra Premium Body Wash. I mean, Felix, what do you think about the Performance Package 4.0?
Yeah, I mean, inside that Performance Package, you'll find the signature Lawnmower 4.0. Love it. I mean, it's designed to trim hair on loose skin. We've all got some loose skin, certain regions, and thanks to the advanced skin-safe technology, you won't get cut, you won't get nicked on your lumber. It also comes equipped with a 4000K LED spotlight that will shine a light to the promised land 2022 looks to be. It's been tested to snipe pubes top shelf. Highly recommend it. I use it. It's an integral part of my grooming routine, and it does the job. It's as advertised.
Yeah, and a grooming routine isn't complete without the applying Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver right before showing off your 2022 self. These unique formulations take care of the smelliest part of your body and are a big boost to your confidence in the playoff push. This right here is the icing. Got it? Get it? On the cake. And to complete the set, Manscaped threw in their shed travel bag and anti-chafing boxer briefs as free gifts to keep all your goodies stored comfortably. Think of it like a barn for all your goodies. And the new product that needs no introduction is the Ultra Premium Body Wash from Manscaped that solves all three for the perfect addition to your daily grooming routine, but in the shower. And I shower every day. I hope you all know that, and I hope that you all do too, because come on. You should shower every day. And this body wash smells great too. It's cologne infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling clean, nice, and moisturized. It smells really, really nice. So it's also time to slapshot discomfort and poor hygiene in the past by using the best tools for the job. So join the Stanley Cup favorites at Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for our exclusive offer of 20% off plus free shipping with the code CTP. After using Manscaped, my hockey pucks have never felt better. So you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code CTP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code CTP. Sharpen your stick and grooming routine with the best in male grooming at Manscaped.
There you go, folks. Okay.
We should really
That
reach
all?
out to them and have it change from McDavid and Draisaitl to Zegras and Milano. Come on.
Yeah, right. No love for Lindholm Drysdale, maybe.
Wow. You're just
Um,
baiting people.
do we want to talk All Star really quickly?
Sure.
Do we want to talk Terry snub?
Sure.
Troy Terry should have been an All Star outright.
100%. 100%. And as you say this, actually, I'm just going to do this. Is it too late? I don't think it's too late. I'm going to put in my last man in vote ballot because I have not done it today. And so on air, I'm going to do this as we go. You know what? Let's just pick the guys. You know what? I'm going to let you pick for me. So let me.
How do I do this?
You go to NHL.com/all-star ballot.
Pretty sad that I don't know this.
Wow. So you're telling me you haven't voted for Troy Terry. 25 minutes left is what it is. 25 minutes left. So
is it / all-star ballot? Are you sure?
all-star-ballot.
Oh, okay. And that's where you messed up.
Sorry.
I mean, I'd happily vote for Troy Terry because he actually deserves it.
Yeah.
It's a travesty that he's not in. Okay, Atlantic Division. So we pick one of each?
One of each.
Okay, so Atlantic Division.
You're not picking Tyler Toffoli?
Wait, he's in here?
Just all right, I'll let you run through it. You can go through the entire division.
He put Tyler Toffoli.
There's one player from every team.
I mean, it's Stamkos, right?
It's either Stamkos or Raymond.
Yeah, I mean,
Stamkos has 46 points though.
Yeah, I'm clicking on Stamkos. Like this isn't hard.
All right. In the Metro.
Svechnikov, Voracek, Bratt, Barzal, Zibanejad, Atkinson, Getzel, and Kuznetsov. So there's some interesting candidates in here. I kind of like the Gensel pick just because I mean he's been key for Pittsburgh this season. I don't know. Where are you leaning here?
I voted a bunch for Zibanejad, but this time, you know what? I'm going to go chaos and just go Gensel and throw my 10 votes at Gensel.
I mean, I think Zibanejad, just from an entertainment perspective, I feel like he would be more fun.
Good call. Changing my vote. You convinced me.
I mean, that's why, like, out of all the guys in the Atlantic, right? I mean, maybe Raymond is your guy, entertainment, but I think Stammer is still a fun guy to watch.
Wow. Nickname basis for you, Stammer.
Hey, I mean, when you've been in the NHL since 2008 and you've won multiple Stanley Cups and you've scored 60+ goals in a season, you get a nickname. It's okay. We say Ovi, right? Okay, the Central Division. So Mark Scheifele, who does not have a ton of points. I don't know how much he's actually played this year. Robert Thomas, Roman Josi, who has 39 points as a defenseman, which is kind of gross. Ryan Hartman, who I don't think I'll be voting for, just as a spoiler. Jason Robertson, Nazem Kadri, who has 49 freaking points. Seth Jones, and Phil Kessel. So on principle, I don't really want to vote for Nazem Kadri, but the man has 49 points.
Yeah, he has the second most points in the league.
I feel like it would be a bit of a travesty if he was not in there, just on merit.
Yep, exactly.
Right? Okay, now let's do the Pacific. This might be the hardest one. Troy Terry, Matthew Tkachuk, Darnell Nurse, Drew Doughty, Logan Couture, Mark Giordano, JT Miller, Jonathan Marsh. So
wait. By the way, PC Main with a good point. Should we just vote for Phil Kessel though, for the hot dog man? Just get Phil Kessel to the All-Star game.
That's true. I think we need hot dog man.
Okay. I changed my vote to Kessel.
In the Pacific, Troy Terry does not have the most points, but he has the most goals by a healthy margin. 22 goals. Next closest after him is Marchessault with 18. And then after that, next closest is Tkachuk by 16. So Terry is leading that race. And I just want to see that story rewarded, right? I mean, this is a guy who's had a true breakout year. We've been going to bat for him for years. There's just, even from an objective standpoint, I think he's the best player of all these guys right now, like this season.
100%. And I just submitted my 10.
Troy Terry.
I just submitted my 10 votes. So there are my 10 votes for Troy Terry. I hope you all go do it too, because just so you know, voting ends in 20 minutes.
Oh, do I have to create an account?
You probably already have an
That's
account. So Felix just did
I
all
do
this.
have
He's
one.
not actually going to submit his account or submit his votes. He just wanted to do that.
I feel like I'm wasting a vote on Phil Kessel. Okay, I've made a vote. There you go.
You can click
Oh,
vote again.
can I vote for them again?
Yeah, 10 times.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna click through.
Lewis
until
still
I get
hasn't
to 10.
gotten past your hockey pucks and sharpen your stick line from the ad read.
It's a good one. It's a good one. It's our best ad read yet, I would say, for Manscaped. We came up with it all, by the way. Not a lie whatsoever. Okay, so I mean, yes, in terms of the All-Star, though, a little bit disappointing to. I mean, I don't know what's this going to be the status for Trevor Zegras.
He's
is
supposedly
he the skills competition?
supposedly he's going to go to the skills competition. Here's my frustrating part about the All-Star game is it felt like I think the frustrating part is that they kind of shoehorn in goalies, and then it's almost like once you have your one guy there, that's your guy. And so then there's no other like leeway for it. And so while yes, Gibson's been okay this year, he's not been an all-star level goalie. And it's like Jonathan Quick's actually been better. And the frustrating thing in some ways is Jonathan Quick deserves to be there probably more than Adrian Kempe does. And
yeah,
like
I don't really understand the picks in the Pacific. I haven't done this whole deal with every division, but John Gibson's been good. I mean, I think his numbers have improved as of late. But Jonathan Quick's been better.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Quick isn't there for LA and that Kempe is very bizarre, very hard to understand. So the whole thing is kind of a fraud, it seems, but that's okay.
Well,
it's the All-Star game.
Here's the frustrating thing, right? Let's say they did Quick and they put Terry in instead of Kempe. Mm-hmm. Then the last man in vote is Trevor Zegras.
Yeah, and he's getting in.
Yeah, like that's I think the frustrating thing is that it's like if you would have just put in Troy Terry, every single team has to have a last man in. Tyler Toffoli was the last man in to be voted for by Montreal. Like Trevor Zegras, like who would you pick over Trevor Zegras to be the last man in for the Ducks? If Troy Terry's in.
Let me get back to you on that in about 15 seconds.
Okay.
When I pull up the stats of this team, because I feel like, okay, let's see. Yeah, I mean it's Zegras or Milano, right?
Hardcore Luchadoo actually is calling us out slightly because Quick got lit up today by Timo Meier, but one game doesn't expose the season.
One game. I mean Zegras, Milano, Getzlaf, I think would all be fine picks, but for entertainment purposes, it's Zegras.
Yeah. 100%. Like Terry's the most deserving one. I think Zegras would be the most exciting one.
Troy Terry is the Ducks' best player this season.
Yep, and there was actually a wonderful podcast put out today by Dmitry Filipovich, speaking of Troy Terry, the PDO cast, where he had Daryl Belfry on, and they go into a lot of topics. Actually, one thing I do want to briefly mention, because this popped up, I think, in conversations between me and CJ last week. It's one thing that we don't talk about enough, which is the fact that point shots are dumb. And they brought this up, and Daryl Belfry, for those that don't know, is a skills consultant who works with the Maple Leafs and a lot of individual players.
He's basically the guru of skills coaching in the NHL.
Yeah,
like he's one of the originators of actual skills coaching, and his clientele base is all the top guys.
Yeah, and so one of the things that he brought up that they're really starting to find out is that the quality of that. It's a puck retrieval game, basically, in the NHL. It's all about getting the puck back after you shoot it to be able to create more quality chances. And what they're finding out is the lower quality the chances, the less likely the puck is to be retrieved. And so the higher quality of chance you have, the more likely the puck is going to be retrieved because guys are constantly in motion when you're creating these high quality looks. Whereas when you get a point shot, if you notice a lot of times when guys take point shots, everyone's stagnant. So if you're stagnant, from an offensive perspective and not moving, the likelihood of you retrieving that puck is low because you're not moving. Whereas when guys are moving and circling into the slot and you miss a shot, other guys are going to be moving also. And so it's just one thing that it stuck out to me. I forgot which game it specifically was. I think it was Minnesota, where Kevin Shattenkirk went and wound up for the slap shot. And I had specifically just said this in Discord, I think, that basically it's now been kind of statistically proven in some ways that the likelihood of a goal going in for you off a point shot is lower than a goal going in against.
I don't know if it's lower, but it's like disturbingly close.
Yeah, because essentially
that it'll get blocked and come back the other way.
Because that exact thing happened. And I mean, the reason why is a point shot's most likely going to be a turnover. A turnover against can lead to a transition against, where you're just taking a point shot. Even if it gets through, it's a relatively low quality chance. if it gets blocked and is a turnover and goes the other way, it's most likely resulting in a high quality chance.
I mean, I kind of liken point shots in a way in hockey to like field goals in football, where it's like a team would rather feel like it's doing something than actually going for it. And yeah, when you get a point shot, it's like, okay, maybe it'll hit a pad in front or it'll miss or whatever. But hey, at least you're getting shots to the net, right? Where in reality, if you want to score and be an elite team, that can't be your bread and butter. You're going to have to work it off the wall, along the half wall, and get it into the slot ultimately. And same thing like with field goals. It's like, oh, congrats, you got the 3 points, and you end up losing at the end of the game. So, yeah, that is very interesting. I think that the point that Daryl made on Terry was also
getting back to
interesting
that
because,
part.
yeah, because the thing with Troy Terry that we've noted this season, the big difference in his game from previous years is that he's so, I hate to use this word because we make fun of it all the time, but he's so confident with the puck. He's attacking guys. He's intentionally going to that middle of the ice and taking guys on one-on-one. And what Daryl said was interesting because he mentioned how, for example, a guy like Connor McDavid, when they are taking on a guy one-on-one, they keep that puck to the middle of the body, that it's in front of them, and using the quick handle to kind of freeze the defender. Whereas with Troy Terry, he keeps the puck on his forehand side, kind of to the side of his body in that loaded position. And this is something that other skill coaches have brought up, where if the puck is on your forehand, you can really sell that shot, and the defender has to respect it. The thing with Terry, though, is that not only does he do that, but when he's getting it into the defender's legs or under their stick, he's also leaning his body into them and kind of creating that space for himself. So very interesting. I mean, people should go check out this podcast because it's the kind of stuff that doesn't really get talked about with the sport. I feel like we all talk about, shot attempts and scoring chances. And if you go to the traditional outlets, you hear about grit and
heart.
I don't know what else
minus.
about these. Whatever they're face-offs. But to hear a guy like Belfry talk about the actual, like, how do you get these things done? How do you coach that into a player? I think is a lot more compelling to me.
The stats that we look at are more so outputs from equations, whereas what he talks about are the inputs.
They're outcomes.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas what he talks about are the inputs into those equations that really cause these positive impacts. And so it was fascinating and definitely worth checking out.
I was going to mention another thing that he brought up is that he mentioned that once you get to the NHL, if you haven't developed that skill of taking guys on one-on-one and challenging them in that way, as Terry has this season, NHL defenders are just so good with their sticks and with their feet that it's almost impossible to really become elite in that facet of the game if you weren't that getting, beforehand. And Terry wasn't really that. I mean, was a good player in college, make no mistake, but wasn't really this kind of one-on-one dynamo like he is this season. And so, I mean, the fact that he's accomplished it and it almost like a relatively short amount of time is just damn impressive. And it just, again, goes to show that if there was a most improved award in the NHL, most improved player award, that Troy Terry would be the slam dunk favorite in my eyes.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, so want to get into some questions or anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, so we're gonna start with Discord. So our Crash Spawn Discord for our Patreon, we got a couple questions in there. Our good friend Litter Albani asks, per Crash Spawn Twitter, aka this was CJ, should the league be petrified that Gibson is back in the cage?
Gibson's been playing better as of late. And I think that deserves to be noted because on this podcast we have been maybe a little more critical of him, rightfully so, but should note when he has played well. The Ducks are going to need it. I think that Lucas Dostal has been good. Anthony Stolarz has pretty much, I think, been like exactly up and down in his performances. So yeah, getting Gibson back is important.
Yep. And Litter Cal also asked, will the Ducks ever score again? This is going to be I'm going to go out on a limb here. Yes, they will score a goal. Bold take.
Is Terry going to be eligible for the next game? I mean, assuming that he can test out of the protocol.
When did he test positive? I think he test positive right before Minnesota.
I think it was Thursday.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe for Colorado, but probably Tampa.
Well, because they want him to have a skate, right? So
Yeah, well, it depends on if, because what would it be 1, 2, 3, 4. Tomorrow could be 5, but I'm not positive on the exact date of it. So potentially Colorado, most likely Tampa for a Terry return.
yeah, I mean Gibson skated today, so that's at least encouraging.
Yep, and Cizo said the next 2 weeks look like they could be rough for the Ducks, even at full strength. What is your guess on the record they come out with? So the next 2 weeks, here are the games the Ducks have. So on Wednesday, they play Colorado, Friday, Tampa. Then next week, they travel to Boston, to Toronto, to Montreal, to Ottawa.
I'll give them the win in Montreal.
Okay.
I'll give them that. Although it is tail end of back-to-backs, so
Yep.
that might be challenging on the road. But I'll give them that because the Canadians are absolute garbage.
I'll give them the win against Ottawa.
Yeah, you think they get one of those two. But Toronto's going to be a challenge. Boston's going to be a challenge. Return of Corey Perry to Honda Center.
Yeah.
Is not
Also,
going to be
absolutely
a cakewalk.
amazing article in The Athletic by Joe Smith. Go read it about like Corey Perry and kind of in-depth look on him in his life. Really, really fascinating stuff.
Well, he's an interesting guy. Video tribute, right?
100%. And
happening.
he even said that the article even said this. They're like, he is not good with emotions. He gave the best man speech at his brother's wedding and got 2 words out and then started bawling. And so he's like, yeah, I'm going to be crying on the bench.
I kind of love that though, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it so endearing?
It 100% is.
That is such a wild animal on the ice, and yet, you take him out of that environment and he's kind of sheepish.
Yeah. Actually, real quick, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Does Corey Perry sign in Anaheim to end his career in Anaheim? He mentioned that he wants to play until they tell him he can't play anymore.
But the question is, first off, like, what does he want for his last few years? Like, is he still going to be a guy?
He's on a 2-year deal, so it would not be this summer, but it would be the summer after.
Yeah, but like, is he going to still want to chase Stanley Cups? I mean, maybe the Ducks are that team in a couple of years.
Boom, ding, ding, ding. And you have a Getzlaf-Perry reunion on the 4th line.
Yeah, and you also no longer have Bob Murray, which I think is pretty big.
Yeah.
And Corey Perry's been good this season. I'm looking at the numbers
so,
right now.
Corey Perry return?
I'm going yes.
Okay.
Emphatically yes.
Yeah. Same.
Make it happen. Make it happen. McFarland / Darce / Solomon / Madden / Nonis.
/ Tulski.
You like how I worked the Nonis?
Yeah. Thanks. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say they pick 1 win off of Colorado, Tampa, Boston, Toronto, and they go 3-3.
Okay. I will defer to you here.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, here we go. Casey said, if Sonny Milano is out long term, do the Ducks have anyone that can step into his role in that time? And how do you think that would affect the contract negotiation and potential arbitration this summer? So one thing that we should mention that we haven't really talked about too much is Sonny Milano got injured against the Wild, left the game. Initially looked like he did catch an elbow to the face. Initially looked like he may have just lost a tooth and was going for repairs. Never returned, so obviously, hopefully not a concussion issue with the issues that he had last year. That's where my brain first went. Could be a jaw issue also, so really no updates on terms of actually what it is.
Contact to the head.
Contact to the jaw specifically.
Yeah, but I mean your brain is close by.
No, I know. That can impact it.
Yeah. My answer is no. They do not have a
Adam Henrique maybe would be the closest thing that they have, but he hasn't.
I don't think Adam Henrique is as good as Sonny.
No, I don't think so either. I think that's the closest that they have, though.
But the thing is, if he's back, he's not really replacing him because Henrique should already be there. So you're kind of like still at a net loss, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So
fair.
So the answer is no.
And do you think that him getting hurt affects his contract negotiation and potential arbitration in summer?
Yeah, I mean, for arbitration purposes, you need points, right?
Well, and games played history after missing a season, basically.
But I think he's already made a pretty good case for himself this summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this could hurt if he's out a while.
Yeah,
there's no question.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the knock on him is health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing that sucks is that if he misses time, it clearly a situation that's outside of his control with the injury. But I mean, those arbitration hearings are ruthless.
Yeah.
So it will be used against him.
Yep. Hey, OD Flo said, will the Ducks stand pat? Serious question.
No, the
Yeah,
Ducks will the Ducks will trade these free agents.
they're for sure 100% in my opinion trading Raquel and Manson.
Yeah, and I think that like the Lindholm thing, we'll see where that goes. But I think that 2 of the 3 are gone,
And
no matter what.
and I also think one player that we haven't really talked about as being a free agent this summer is Nick Delorier.
Yeah,
Like,
what is the upside in keeping him down the stretch?
Yep.
Besides keeping Dallas Eakins happy.
Yep. Like, just move him for a 4th round pick. Get back what you traded for him.
Yeah, I mean another free agent. Not that they'll trade him, but you know where I'm going with this.
Oh Ryan Getzlaf.
Ryan
Getzlaf I don't think is getting moved.
Is that chatter? Are we gonna have to deal with that chatter? Are we gonna have to deal with Shane O'Brien like tweeting for Ryan Getzlaf again?
Yeah. Do you agree with me that at this point in time, just let him finish his career here?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but it seems like everyone else wants to see him traded somewhere. Like, and by everyone else, I mean like Canadian media, basically.
Yeah.
Well, okay, this is now a conspiracy theory, but I have this theory that I think Getzlaf. I'm sure that Bob Murray's been mostly good to him, but I feel like the way things got handled last summer was maybe somewhat a reflection of how he felt about Bob Murray. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think it's fair. All right.
He didn't make it easy on the Ducks to come back.
CZO said, where do you feel the Ducks could improve on a marketing standpoint?
Ooh, well, yeah. I mean, this is an easy one, right? Rebrand.
Oh, yeah.
Logo.
Yeah.
That's part of marketing, right?
Yeah, fair.
So, yeah, it's got to be the jerseys. I mean, if I were to ask you right now, if you took a poll of the Ducks fan base, what do you think the percentage would be? And be unbiased here. What do you think the percentage would be of fans who want to see the Mighty Duck logo return in some form or
75%.
75? Wow, that is high.
I think that 25% is high. Of no, I think I'm under. Yeah. I think I'm in some ways.
Well, my question is kind of soft too.
I think it might be higher than 75%. I think that there are 25% of people still in the fan base that don't like the Disney aspect of it, and so want to stay away from that. The kiddish, it's more so the older generation of hockey fans that are Ducks fans. I think that there are so many millennials that are now paying customers of this team that that they make up the majority of the fan base, and to me, that's probably 75%.
So let me ask you another question then. What do you think the percentage is that wants full-on Eggplant and Jade back with, like full original?
Oh, wait, sorry. What was your question? I thought that's what you asked.
No, my question was just the Mighty Duck logo in some form or fashion being prominent.
That actually, I would say
that 90, might be 90.
Yeah, 90. Eggplant and Jade, 75%.
That's still really high. Because I think there's probably fans that like the orange, right?
25% is a decent amount of like the fan base.
1 out of 4? 1 out of 4?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's not a great commentary though on like their regular uniforms and color palette.
I mean, how many people do you think want to get rid of the current home and away set?
I think
90.
Majority. Like more than half.
90%.
Cop out answer. I mean, you're going bold on these, and I'll defer to you. But I think the majority of fans want to see the current jerseys upgraded.
Yeah, I mean, in my ideal world, what I would do is Eggplant and Jade back to the primary, and I've said this much. Orange third, because I do like having the orange, like
it's fun.
Orange County jersey, whatever, and you can do an orange jersey as your third jersey, and it's kind of the ode to Orange County jersey. And so, like, to me, I'm good with that. And I think that it keeps... Because, I mean, here's the thing. There was a while there where I was happy not being Eggplant J because I like the orange ode to... but the more I think about it, the more I look at it, the more it just kind of sits on me. It's like, there's no other team in the NHL that has an eggplant in the NHL or just in sports.
Any professional league.
Like,
major league.
Yeah, and it's like there's no team with that exact color palette. And that makes it so unique. Yeah. And there's so many orange teams throughout the world. And it's like
when the Ducks played the Flyers the other week, I just hate that matchup aesthetically. Just two orange teams. It's not fun.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm even thinking about like the Premier League or any team like that. And I can't think of any team with a color scheme. I mean, you can maybe say like West Ham is kind of close or Aston Villa is kind of close, but it's still not the same as Eggplant and Jade. It's still pretty different from that. And so there's just no, to me, it's just so unique that you have to do it. And so that's why I've settled on that should be the home and away. And then you do orange as a third.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Uh,
One last question on that.
okay.
If they brought back those jerseys, would you want to the original jerseys? Would you want to see them exactly as they were?
Yes.
Or with maybe some modern touches?
Nope.
Just exactly as they were. I kind of want to see a little slight, refresh.
Don't mess with perfection.
I don't like pure retro.
Don't mess with perfection.
Well, I think that you can make some little
How?
tweaks.
What?
I think that the bottom stripe, the diagonal stripe, is almost too like prominent on those jerseys. Like, maybe minimize those just a little bit.
But it's about that angle. So you want it to be a flat stripe as compared to
No,
being
I don't
a
want
diagonal.
it to be flat. I just don't want it to be like coming up to like the rib, basically. Like just like scale it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, here's the thing. I think that, and I think also with the modern day player, I think the modern day player loves the Mighty Ducks logo.
yes.
I mean, Trevor Zegras even says the orange Mighty Ducks logo is their best jersey, and he would love to go back to the Eggplant Jade.
Jones said it last summer.
I think Zegras has said it that he would want to go back to the Mighty Ducks logo full time.
Well, Colton and Jones have said it on like a team interview.
Didn't they ask her am I gonna get in trouble for this?
Yeah, they did. I think Comtois did, and I think Jones as well. Yeah, I think the players and look, it's like the players are younger too, right? They're younger demographic. I mean, I couldn't understand maybe for like a Getzlaff who won a Stanley Cup with the orange.
Yeah,
right.
Well, was drafted in the Mighty Ducks jersey.
Well,
but...
I was gonna say it wasn't really orange though. The year they won it, I mean, you had the orange stripe.
Yeah,
but not exactly what.
Oh, it was Trevor Zegras that kept asking if he could say that. That's what it was.
Well, and also, I mean, Getzlaff had all those great playoff runs in the orange jerseys, so I could see there being some more attachment to that. But
I kind of like. I kind of honestly like, if you think about it, just from the franchise perspective, you can kind of keep the orange and black as the Getzlaff era, and it's like this more kind of hard, gritty type of game that they played, and then it's like the Eggplant and Jade is the Korea Solani era, and now going to be the Trevor Zegras era that's more flashy. More high pace, high octane type hockey.
You're not a fan of combining the two? Get orange on the Eggplant and Jade jersey?
Oh, God.
Have you seen those mock-ups?
Yeah, I hate it.
They remind me of the Miami Vice jerseys.
I hate it. Oh, I love the Miami Vice jerseys, honestly. I don't like orange with the Eggplant and Jade. I don't think it works.
it's just a little too out there.
I don't think it works. I don't like black with Eggplant and Jade either. I don't think that works. I think you either go all out.
Yeah, we're aware.
Yeah.
Your disdain for the 25th anniversary jersey is well documented.
Do not like. It's a Sharks jersey. Ryan _ said, are Zegras Milano the new Getzlaff Perry? Will we struggle to find a winger that works super well with them, or is that just Troy Terry?
I mean, I think Zegras and Terry are more of the Getzlaff Perry ilk because they're both drafted by the team. Whereas Milano,
true.
I mean, I guess if you want to
I think just from the perspective of people on the team.
Well, also being line mates. Yeah, I mean, we had an interesting debate about the fact that Zegras' numbers drop off more than Milano's when they're away from each other.
Yep.
That's an open question for now. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of their role on this team is the dynamic duo.
Yeah,
although they got split up recently.
Yeah, I mean, I put Terry, Milano, and Zegras together. Just do it.
I just think that Comtois got 3 points in 4 games or something at one point, and so Aiken's stuck with that Comtois Zegras Raquel line. Anyway, they want that to be a thing. Clearly,
yeah, they want Comtois to work with Zegras. When it's kind of funny, it's just like you have the answer right in front of you. Why are you trying to make this fit this square peg in this round hole? You have complementary players elsewhere. It's so obvious. It's funny to me, right?
Well, I think part of it is that, okay, you know that you have that in your back pocket.
That's fair. That's fair.
Can you tap into some
fair
new
point.
Oil well and maybe find a source there? But yeah, I mean, you need these points though if you want to make the playoffs. You don't have a lot of time to experiment.
Yep. All right, so here we go. We're going to get to Twitch now. So for those of you on YouTube, yes, we're on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/crashspawn. Like, subscribe to the videos. You can get in the comments, everything like that. Or if you're on your favorite podcast services, please check out our Twitch, twitch.tv/crashspawn, where you can help support the show in a way that's completely free to you if you have Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub each and every month that you can use to help support the show. And with that, you get special badges in the chat, special badges next to your name, special emotes in the chat. And you help support the show and keep it going. And so you can be just like PC Main, who subbed, and Lewis X209, who resubbed. Want to take a gander, Felix? How many months do you think Lewis has supported us on here?
Oh my God. Like 34?
Higher.
39?
Higher.
44?
40.
Wow. Hey, he's Vinny Lettieri's number from last year.
Lettieri went 40?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
The disrespect to Jared Bull.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that one alone.
All right, so let's get to questions. Shadow Ops Gaming 13 said, question, should the Ducks trade for Jake DeBrusk? Also, if Jones comes back this season, what would or should they do Jones, Zegras, Milano together?
No and no. I mean, I think the DeBrusk thing is kind of like more of a shot in the dark. You don't really like. I think DeBrusk, there's red flags. There's also green flags. Like, he's just kind of a mixed bag, and I don't really know if it's worth, like, if the juice is worth the squeeze with him. I don't know what it would take to get him. He hasn't been traded yet, so clearly Boston wants something of significance. And then with Jones, I mean, he's a fourth liner, right? Like, maybe a premium third liner.
Yeah, that's kind of where I think he settles in at.
I don't think he helps a Zegras and Milano line. Like, you need a guy who can actually play offense.
Yeah. Heyo Deflo
do
said,
something with the puck.
Heyo Deflo asks, who will win next weekend at GCW's biggest pay-per-view to date? Joey Janela or Matt Cardona? Matt Cardona's taking it. I mean, he's the internet champ. He's always ready. He's going to take it. Felix, we should watch this GCW pay-per-view at the Hammerstein Ballroom together.
Yeah. I'm reading some of these Matt Cardona tweets. They're pretty vicious.
Oh, did you just Twitter search him?
If people like me didn't come to GCW, people
it's great.
Tune it to see someone he can't even spell.
He can't. No, he can't.
Okay.
He's having the run of his life after being let go by WWE. He has become just an absolute internet sensation. He cut a promo that was reworking the lyrics of Bye Bye Bye.
Okay.
How great is that? Come on.
I don't care.
All right. Hardcore Luchador asks, question, how many 5-goal single player games have you been to? He said he's seen one, Ovi versus the Ducks. Kevin from the Sharks has seen one, Mike Ricci against the Sharks. So,
is that rhetorical? Is that just like a flex?
I think it's just a flex because I don't know if I've ever seen a 4-goal game.
I'm trying to think. Being a Habs fan, you don't see a lot of goals usually on the West Coast, so I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I mean, especially not live.
Yeah, no.
No. I will say my favorite hat trick I ever went to was when Corey Perry scored 50.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, hat trick got the 50th goal. All right. PC Main said, do you think the Ducks would consider dealing Stolars for something at the deadline and tandem Gibson and Dostal for future?
I think that makes sense. Like I think the Ducks goalie situation is interesting because you can make a case either way. I think you could just hang on to Stolars and just kind of ride that out, and then let Dostal continue to develop. You could also trade Gibson and try Stolars and Dostal next year. Or you could do what's being proposed here, which is deal Stolars. I think Stolars is a good backup. His performances are a little erratic, but overall, like on the net, he's a good positive value add. So I'd be kind of reluctant to let him go, but you have Lucas Dostal, so he's got to play at some point. I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure if there's like a right or wrong there.
Yep. CJ KHL, who said, if the Ducks trade Raquel and Manson, where do you think they both end up?
Well, Raquel, we've talked a lot about for Boston, right? Boston or Philly.
Yeah, I also think Toronto maybe could get in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Manson. Where do you think Manson might end up?
Well, Manson's got the no trade, right?
Yeah, he has a limited no trade clause. I think he has like a 10-team no list. Let me double check on
Yeah,
that
he's
though.
got a 12-team no trade
12-team
list.
no list.
So I think Winnipeg is on there if
Yeah.
last season is to be believed. So I don't really know. Like, I would need to know the list. If Josh Manson is listening to this, send us your no trade list.
Yes.
And then we can answer this question.
Yes. Yes. There you go. I've seen some people say maybe Florida, but they're kind of set on the right side, so I don't really see that happening. They've got Montour, they've got Ekblad, they've got Uyghur. They kind of are set on that right side.
Uyghur?
Uyghur? What
yeah,
I say? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Uyghur. I mean, the problem with 12 is that it's almost half the league, so it's kind of hard to like you have
Calgary
you have like
maybe.
You have almost like a 1 in 2 chance of getting it wrong.
Calgary could make some sense, I think.
In division, though?
Who cares?
Do they care? Do
No.
the Ducks care about that?
He's a rental.
Well, let's see. Their right side is Chris Tanev, Rasmus Anderson, Goodbransons. I mean, yeah, they have a bunch of guys. I don't know if I see that. I'm trying to look at teams.
Yeah,
LA?
I mean,
is
sure.
that too close? Too close to home?
I mean, if he's a rental, maybe. Why not?
Their right side is Doughty, Roy, and Dursey. And I know that they like those guys, and I think Matt Roy has decent numbers, but it feels like Manson would make sense in there. I don't know. Outside of that,
yeah, I can't.
I don't know.
I can't think of anything else. Yeah, it's hard because it's specifically the
12.
Minnesota, maybe.
I mean, like, here's my question. First off, do we think Josh Manson is still good? And then,
what teams would think he's still good?
Do we still think teams think he's good? Because last year we were pretty set on like, yeah, teams still love Josh Manson.
I do.
But this year, I mean, he's been. Would you say he's been like slightly above replacement level, like at best?
Yeah, I mean, Edmonton would make a lot of sense, but they're not dealing their first, is what they said.
Well, the thing with Edmonton is that they just need any competent defenseman, and he is that. I will give him that. So, but yeah, you want to get at least you want to get a second or a first for him. So, I don't know if Edmonton does that.
Yeah, and so that's the question: is Ken Holland bluffing there? What's going on there?
We also know that he would accept the trade to Edmonton. I feel like that would be on the list.
I think that he would because his dad's from there.
Yeah, but his dad played in Winnipeg, and he doesn't want to play in Winnipeg. So
did his dad? Well, no, but I think like Manson was like born and raised near Edmonton.
Now I need to look this up. I thought he was born in Manitoba.
Now we're just all on the rails.
He was born in Illinois.
Yeah, his dad was playing for the Blackhawks, but
didn't you just say born and raised in
Did
Edmonton?
I say born? I didn't mean born. I meant
I think you did.
I'm
sorry.
I didn't mean that though. My apologies. Let's see. Saskatchewan.
Yeah, so not Edmonton.
Well, yeah.
Just at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played.
You win some, you lose some. You lose some.
He played for the This is a great name. The Salmon Arm Silverbacks of the BCHL, and the Flin Flon Bombers.
Where is Flin Flon?
It has to be somewhere.
Can
right?
someone tell me where Flin Flon is?
It's in Saskatchewan. Here, let's see.
Flin Flon.
It's in Manitoba. So he pretty much grew up everywhere but Alberta / Edmonton. Like I'm sorry, but you've taken a drastic L here.
Yep. Sometimes
God, Flin Flon is. Oh my God.
Why would you want to spend time there?
Are you seeing this on the map?
Yes, I'm legit. Putting it. I have Google Maps open on the screen. This is now just become a geography show.
Hold on, let me pull up the stream. Look at that. That is legitimately the middle of nowhere. Like actually. And I'm praying if you are listening to this right now and you are offended by this because you live in Flin Flon,
let us know.
Please leave that in a review or hit us up on Twitter. I am begging you. But look at that on
look
the
at
map.
the amount of lakes that are around there.
I mean, that's kind of cool, I guess, right?
It's all water.
All the while, it's like minus 100 degrees.
It's right on the border of Saskatchewan and Manitoba.
I mean, yeah, the lakes thing is pretty cool, actually.
It's a lot of lakes. It doesn't look like
But
there's anything around there. Like it looks like that's it.
It must get so dark there.
Picture going there. How old would he have been? Let's see.
I feel like the only things to do there are like drink and play hockey.
So he would have gone there in 2009, and he's almost the same age as me. So I think he would have been 17, 18 years old.
Okay, so I'm now on Street View on Google Maps, and the view of the lake is it's beautiful. I'll say that. It's nice. I gotta say a positive thing about it, right? It looks nice. There's the Prospector Inn. Let's check this out. 4 stars.
What has this podcast become?
I really want to see if there's any reviews. Are there any reviews? 4 out of 5 stars. Clean hotel, friendly staff. We got a room with 2 beds. Okay. Pretty good for a motel. Just need to ask for 2 more pillows if sharing the bed with someone. Very thin. Wow. Okay. Well, hey, Prospector Inn in Flin Flon. Looks like the pillow game has got to be stepped up a little bit. Anyway.
Wow. What a turn the show has taken.
Yeah, a turn for the better, I would argue.
Yeah. So Josh Manson played in Flin Flon.
Yeah. Yeah, played in Flin Flon. Managed to get out of Flin Flon. I think is like how do you even get out of there? Like
drive?
You've got some driving to do. Maybe you take like a small regional plane. I don't know. It's just
CJ Kitchell says, "I just wanted to know where Manson could end up, you freaks."
Yeah, sorry about it.
Wow,
Sorry.
wow.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out where we're at with questions because that took us on a really big side trip
Down a dark road.
Austin Price, almost as dark as Flin Flon. From your previous point, do you think Getzlaf still plays in 2-3 years as just a 4th line center? I think he will retire if he can't dominate.
Sorry, I missed that. Can you repeat that?
Do you think Getzlaf plays in 2 to 3 years as a 4th line center?
It's funny because today, what was it on Shane Doan talking to Jeff Merrick, and he used the example of Getzlaf accepting playing as a 4th line center for Team Canada as the selfless nature of Team Canada. But I don't know. Getzlaf strikes me as a very, very, very competitive athlete, and I feel like as long as he can still do it to any degree, he will stick it out. Like he's not dominant right now, right? I mean, he's fine. So he's already not really meeting this threshold, and he's still playing. So I think he'll stick around as long as he can.
Yeah,
as long as the body lets him, really.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
Let's see. Let's hit a couple more questions. Hardcore Luchador, our good friend Sean said the Stadium Series OC logo is perfect. Why do you agree? That logo is actually amazing, and I don't know why they did not use it more.
It's okay.
You didn't like the logo that was like OC with the interlocking logo and everything? It was really cool. I liked it.
It's okay. It's fine for a one-off.
Wow. Why do you whatever? Hardcore Luchador all said, what would it take to get a very disgruntled McDavid?
It won't happen. Unless you think he's actually getting traded at some point or another.
No.
Yeah.
Trevor Zigo has 2 questions. We'll end with these. Hey, just got here. Do you think Kevin Weeks will get interviewed?
I think Kevin Weeks is a great commentator. Love the work that he does. But what qualifies him to be an NHL GM? Can someone please explain this to me outside of literally having played in the NHL? Like I get that he's a fun guy. I get all of that. But we're the ones always railing against just, the retread machine, just getting the former players on name brand value. And that's what this screams to me if you bring in a Kevin Weeks. So maybe he might do a good job. Maybe this is just me being curmudgeonly, but no, it's a no.
Do you think Perry's number will be retired? And do you think Bobby Ryan's will be retired? Bobby Ryan's is not going to be retired, seeing as it's already been retired.
May I present you number 54?
He's not having number 54 retired. Perry's number is 100% being retired. Bobby Ryan's number 9 is already retired, so won't be retired again. Didn't play long enough to get a number retirement.
There's one more question.
The Ducks have 45 points at the halfway mark. Do they get more or less than 45 in the second half?
Well, are they actually halfway? How many games have they played?
Yeah, they've played 41.
Ooh. I'm tempted to go under here. Tempted. But I don't. What would you set the line at? Like, I don't know. I'll go under because I think that they're going to sell and that's going to affect their current roster.
I'll go over.
You're thinking they're going to be better than they've been.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's the path for that exactly? The roster's going to get worse.
True. All right, under.
Okay. I talked to you off.
Sorry, I grabbed Salem and I wasn't really thinking too much. I was very worried about Salem.
That's what that's what being with animals does, though. It takes you out of the fray.
Yep.
It just relaxes you.
Salem said hi to everyone.
Yeah. I love the comment about Melrose was a fair coach and became a good commentator. Maybe that's a week's. Yeah. How did Barry Melrose's second coaching stint go? Anyone want to talk about that? Because it was a disaster. Is the answer?
Okay. Eat my Aston Reese said Salem took the over.
That's not what I thought you were going to say for a second there. Salem took the over. Hey, I mean, the case for the over would be that they're going to be better, no?
What do you think, Salem?
Anyway, yeah, if he does become the GM, they will never be able to trade to Calgary. That is true. The Tkachuk fake rumor.
Oh, that's right. I was like trying to understand what that was a reference to.
No, I got it right away.
Well, there you go. You know, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some.
Well, I think that we have won some on this podcast, more than we have lost.
I would agree with that.
And I think it might be time to wrap up, unless you've got anything else. Any recommendations? I recommended cold showers at the top of the show.
Book of Boba Fett's entertaining. You could also go ahead and.
I love that you said that it's entertaining because I feel like that's the most you can say. It's the most you can say.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil it. Come on, you want to be a jerk. Okay. Cobra Kai, also very fun. Enjoyed that. Go watch wrestling. Wrestling's fun right now.
It feels a little perverted to make this recommendation. Maybe perverse is the better word. But the NFL playoffs have been really fun. I was screaming my face off watching Cowboys-Niners yesterday. So it's been a lot of fun.
Also, for any wrestling fans, go support Danhausen, one of the funnest guys out there, and broke his leg a while ago. Go support him. Buy a shirt. Buy a micro brawler like me.
Well, on that note, if you want to support us, if you want to support the show that you just listened to, there's a couple of ways that you can do that are going to help us keep this thing going. The number one way is our Patreon page, patreon.com/crashthepond. For $1 a month, that's it, $1. You get access to our patrons-only Discord server, which is so much fun. It's really become its own awesome Ducks community. Everyone is in there to have a good time, to discuss different ideas about the team, to chat as the games are happening, to talk about trades, moves. And we have a bunch of different channels. So there's a food channel where you get some very interesting takes. Let's just put it that way. You get the general chat where we just talk about anything and everything.
Can I just expose what the last thing was in the food? Let's make this thing. The last message in the food gets said every single time.
I like that.
It's from, and beware, it's from Lewis.
Oh, God.
Lewis X2.
Do we have to do this? Do we have to do this?
You agreed to this.
I didn't know it was him.
Cup pepperoni is the best kind of pepperoni.
Okay. I mean, that's on the Lewis scale, that's like a great take, right? I mean, am I wrong about that?
Sure.
Is it? I mean, I don't know. I don't have a strong.
I don't have a strong pepperoni opinion either.
There is something to the cupping though, of pepperoni. Nothing like a good cup. All right. So that's for $1 a month. $1 a month. It's the best. Honestly, there's so many worse ways to spend $1. Just go ahead and do it. You won't regret it. For $5 a month though, you get access to the server and you get access to 2 bonus episodes a month. And so in the last show, Jake and I had a big picture discussion on the Ducks, where we think things are headed. Then had a very off-topic discussion of Book of Boba Fett at the end. But if you're also a patron, you get to put in topic suggestions in the Discord chat. And so that helps kind of guide the discussion as well. So if you enjoy the regular shows that we do well, you get 2 more of them a month, and they're a little more unfiltered. Let's just put it that
If
way.
you like the Flin Flon talk, oh boy.
Should I say this on air? But we also spill a bit more tea on that show
Sure.
than we do here.
Sure.
We say some things we wouldn't say on the regular show. Hopefully this doesn't get us in trouble. But check it out, right? That's the whole lore there. Yeah, and if you just really, really, really like our show and you just want to really help it as much as you can pledge $15 a month. And so you're going to get access to all the different tiers that we talked about. I covered this in the last show, but I'll say it again. We are not doing the watch along anymore. So the $15 tier is just a great big hug that you're giving us every single month, essentially. We really do appreciate it. That's at patreon.com/crash the pond. Now, you don't have to do that, though, to help this show keep going, keep those lights on, keep my ring light on. There's another way to do that. You just search us on Apple Podcasts, and you search Crash the Pond. You can leave us a rating and leave us a review. And if you do leave that review, we will read it on the show. In the past, we have gotten some awesome ones. The more inside jokes, the better. Those really give us a smile. And you want to talk about Spotify?
Yep, I was about to jump in and say this. And now, in addition to Apple Podcasts, if you are primarily a Spotify user like me, obviously still go to Apple Podcasts, do that because you can do the review along with it that we can read. But there's also now ratings on Spotify. That is a new thing. It's actually interesting where you cannot do it if you have not listened to the show. So you can only do it for shows that you've listened to get feedback from people that actually listen to the show. So we currently have about 25 ratings. So if you like the show, you use Spotify. If you just go to the podcast page, scroll up to the top, there's a star button. If you hit that, you can give us a 5-star rating and really help get the show out there. And from what I've heard, it really just puts our show in front of more people. If you more people are hockey fans or things like that, our show will get pushed in front of them and more people can see the show. So it just helps with that type of stuff if you can really lend a hand there.
Right. I mean, look at it this way. How many seats are there in Honda Center?
17,000-ish?
So until we get to 17,000 downloads an episode, I think there's still room to grow. Until every single fan in attendance is listening, there's room to go.
You realize that there are more fans than can fit in the building, right?
Yes, but 17,000 would be a lot.
That is true.
Let's just put it that way.
We could set goals high.
Yeah, 2022 is the year to shoot your shot. Can we still do New Year's jokes, by the way? Is there a statute of limitations on that?
I don't know.
Okay. You don't have to answer. You can also find us on YouTube, youtube.com/crash the pond. You can see the video version of the show. You can see basically the video of the Twitch stream. So you can see all the different graphics. You can see maps of the North Pole on this time around that we put up with Flin Flon. And so that's at youtube.com/crash the pond. You can subscribe and also make sure to turn on your notifications. Leave us a comment and Jake will respond to it and I will read it and maybe laugh. Who knows? Think about it. Help Jake respond. Outside of that, a couple of other ways you can find us at our website, crashthepond.com. If you like our beautiful logo, you can buy a t-shirt or a hoodie with it on it. That's at crashthepond.com/shop. We have more articles coming up there. We have an article that came out now a couple of weeks ago. It was a writer's roundtable, but I think a lot of it still applies. A lot of hot takes from the different contributors to the site. Shout out to everyone who chipped into that.
Also, check out Bobski put up an article about what he thinks needs to happen at the deadline. Also,
that was a good one too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Read that. Yep. Edited it actually. I actually never say when I edit and publish. I just ghost it. I do it and then
wait. Were you the reason why that? We'll take this off air. That got posted when it was supposed to be delayed till the next day.
Oh shit. Okay.
Mike, well, it was Felix that did it.
Well, never mind. Actually, that wasn't me. Not for that one. And you can find us on social media at Crash the Pond. Jake is on Twitter at ReindeerGames91. I'm on Twitter at Felix_Sicard. So that will do it for the show today, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.